Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the Philadelphia Flyers as we continue this season preview series here for 2021. The Flyers made a lot of moves. They sacrificed a lot of the future, but is it enough for the Flyers to get back into the postseason? We'll be discussing that now. So looking at the Flyers, some of the guys they lost this season, some of the guys that I mentioned that they had to give up some futures for. Nolan Patrick, the former second overall pick of the Flyers, is gone. He is now a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. They wanted to add some center depth. And, Nolan Patrick, gone. Just like that. So, a lot of Flyers fans probably disappointed that Patrick didn't work out there. And could be one of the biggest busts in recent NHL draft history. So, we'll see if he rewrites the script in Vegas under Pete DeBoer, but as of right now, it's been a rough go for Patrick. Michael Raffl also left the Flyers organization. He has been with the Flyers for as long as I can remember. Very loyal to that group, and he has moved on. So, kind of an interesting player that is no longer there. Carson Torrensky was the guy they selected in the expansion draft from Seattle. So he is now gone. Philip Myers was traded to the Nashville Predators in that same trade with Nolan Patrick. Robert Haig was traded up to Buffalo. So he is gone in the Ristolinen deal. And Shane Gostisbehere sent out to the desert with the Coyotes, which God knows if he'll actually be in Arizona at that time. But Shane Gostisbehere, a member of the Coyotes. So, kind of a cap dump. Really didn't work out. Gives room for Cam York, Ellis, Ristolinen. I'm getting ahead of myself. Look at some of the guys that they added. Before I get to that, I forgot a subtraction. A big one. Jakub Voracek was sent to the Columbus Blue Jackets in exchange. Perfect transition into the additions. The 1-for-1 trade. Jakub Voracek to the Blue Jackets. Cam Atkinson to the Philadelphia Flyers. A really heart and soul guy in Columbus. I'm very shocked that they traded Cam Atkinson. Cam Atkinson is a great locker room guy, and you're going to see that theme continue as we go through this. But Atkinson is going to be another great addition for the Flyers. Jackson Cates, a guy that they drafted. A lot of people are saying he could jump into the lineup for the Flyers, so Jackson Cates, keep an eye on him. Nate Thompson, a guy they picked up in free agency to add some depth, probably a replacement to a guy like Michael Raffl. And then a bunch of defensive upgrades. And, I'm not just saying, guys they just filled in. No. These guys are going to be key components to that new blue line in Philadelphia. Ryan Ellis projected to be on the top pair with Ivan Provorov, a guy they traded for in that Patrick deal. So Ryan Ellis comes in, probably going to play with Provorov. That is probably going to be, if not one of the best defensive pairings in the NHL. Rasmus Rista comes in as well from Buffalo. They gave up a lot for him. Again, you talk about futures. They gave up some futures for him. But they're hoping that this bet works out. He just wasn't able to get a fair shake in Buffalo, and that he becomes that true top pairing, potentially pairing defenseman in the NHL. And you also bring in Keith Yandle, a quarterback for your power play on the defensive side of things. A guy that will kind of replace Shane Gostisbehere and what they hoped Gostisbehere could be. So they bring in Keith Yandle. Again, another good locker room guy like Ellis, like Atkinson, like Yandle. Those guys are going to do that well. And then one of the more eye-catching guys that they lost. Now, again, another guy I forgot to mention, Brian Elliott goes to Tampa Bay. They bring in Martin Jones as the backup behind Carter Hart. And this is one of the more puzzling moves that the Flyers made. Now, I understand why Elliott didn't want to return, because he was playing a lot of games last year, and in a lesser role in Tampa behind Vasi, that's pretty much the cream of the crop position in the NHL. So congrats to Elliott, but Martin Jones had a really bad season in San Jose last year, got bought out. So is he going to be able to turn things around in Philadelphia? Now, he's a good mentor for a guy like Carter Hart, but in terms of actual play, he's really fallen off since the Flyers were looking at him back in the day when where was he? Martin Jones was in LA, and they wanted to send him to Philly. He ended up going to Boston. Boston ends up flipping him right back to the West Coast. So throwed up the hoop to the LA Kings for making that trade, and the Flyers are like, oh, that sucks. So Martin Jones is now a member of the Philadelphia Flyers. So we'll see how that works out. It could blow up in their face because I think goaltending-wise, behind Carter Hart, and Martin Jones. He's a relic of his former self. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping he proves me wrong, but it was a really rough year in San Jose for him. Looking at their top point producers, James Van Riemsdyk, JVR, 43 points. Claude Giroux, Jakub Voracek, no longer there. They're hoping that Cam Atkinson fills that role. Sean Couturier, Joel Farabee, the Islander killer. I'll never forget Farabee. Travis Konechny, Kevin Hayes, Ivan Provorov, Scott Lawton, Shane Gostisbehere, Travis Sanheim, which they have officially locked up Sanheim, so that is now done. Oscar Lindblom, Nicholas Aube-Kubel, Eric Gustafsson, who is not going to be there, and Nolan Patrick, not going to be there. So some of these guys are no longer there. Voracek, Gostisbehere, definitely going to look a little different. The complexion will be different in Philly, but I think it's for the better. Then you look at their forward pairings. You've got Giroux, Couturier, and Konechny as your top pair. Not really different from last year. We're going to see that continue. Joel Farabee, Kevin Hayes, and Cam Atkinson on your second line. It was a joint agreement that Voracek would leave last year, and Atkinson just fills that void. And that's what we're going to see, and really not much discussion there. You could see Van Riemsdyk jump in there as well. You got Scott Lawton and James Van Riemsdyk, as well as Wade Allison, who has been playing, kind of waiting in the wingtips in the Lehigh Valley Phantoms organization. So maybe we see Wade Allison jump into the lineup. That's what Daily Faceoff has here, but we'll see how that works. Oscar Lindblom, Nate Thompson, and Nicholas Aube-Kubel round out your bottom of the top six. And then you got your defensive tandem. It's pretty good. Definitely an upgrade for the Flyers. Chuck Fletcher, you could tell I've been making a lot of videos today. Chuck Fletcher has definitely put an emphasis on defense this year, and it's one of those things where maybe he added Martin Jones, right? And he's got Carter Hart coming back, but he made the defense in front of Carter Hart a lot better. So maybe they're expecting his production to get better because the defense in front of him is better, and that may be the mindset of Chuck Fletcher, and I think it makes sense. Ivan Provorov and Ryan Ellis, I already talked about them, could be the best pairing in the NHL by the end of next season. Travis Sanheim and Rasmus Ristolinen. I know a lot of people don't like Sanheim. He had a really bad year last season, but in terms of Ristolinen replacing guys like Haig and Braun, I think that's a really good group on the top four. And then Jans and Braun to round out your bottom six. Now, again, you've got to remember that you could see guys jump into that mix like Cam York. Let's get to that. Cam York, Cooper Zek, Wyatt Wiley. Those guys are all going to be knocking at the door as well as the season goes along. So just figure I'd throw that out there. Carter Hart and Martin Jones are your goaltending tandem. We already went over that. And then looking at some of their forward depth, Wade Allison, Tyson Forster, Samu Tumala, who they drafted this year, Linus Sandin, who I believe is the brother of Rasmus Sandin, Connor Boneman, Herman Rupsev, Matthew Strome, Isaac Ratcliffe. I've heard of some of these names before, so hopefully the Flyers are maybe going to see those guys as good depth guys. God forbid, or there's going to be injuries during the season. You're going to need those guys to jump into the lineup, and a lot of big boys. I know Forster's a big guy. I know Isaac Ratcliffe, another big guy. Herman Rupsev. Those are some big boys that are big power forward guys that could kind of add a little bit of grit to the lineup if the Flyers need as the season goes along. And again, you're the Broad Street Bullies. You should be able to do that. So $4 million in cap space for the Flyers. A little over $77 million spent this season. So obviously the ownership in Philly obviously has had a little bit of a change up, but it seems like they are investing into the Flyers, and I think they're expecting things to pay off when you've got Chuck Fletcher and Alain Vigneault. A little bit of a, you're taking a risk there, but I think it could pay off for the Flyers. And we know what they did 2 years ago in the 2020 playoff bubble. They went to the conference finals. The semifinals, the second round, lost to the New York Islanders in 7 games. But even that season, had it not been for COVID, the Flyers were the Stanley Cup favorite. And they have fallen so hard since last year. So we'll see what happens. I have them making the playoffs this year. I think Chuck Fletcher gave up a lot of futures for this season, but I think it will pay off for the Flyers. They get into the playoffs. As long as Carter Hart is hot and this team's doing well and they have enough veterans, as long as they score enough goals, I think the Flyers will be the team to beat in that division. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Philadelphia Flyers? Do they get back to the playoffs or not? Let me know down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.